What is going on, everybody? It's your man Michael back with Versatile Plays, back here to talk about Xbox and Bethesda showcase of what is to come for Xbox. And what they emphasized was 12 months of content, and this is exactly why I'm with PlayStation. Alright, so 2 games that stood out to me, maybe 3, but really 2 out of this hour and a half, hour 45 minute showcase was Hollow Knight Silk Song, I believe it was called. I never played the first one, but it moved me to want to go play the first one on PlayStation. And I don't know if the second one is only Xbox exclusive, because I wasn't paying attention to whether or not it was, or if it's like it's gonna be on Game Pass day one, day and date or whatever. But that looked cool. And yes, despite it having a slightly weird vibe, but it is unfinished, Starfield, of course. I think Starfield actually looks kind of good. It's Star Wars / Stargate SG-1 music meets No Man's Skies Endless Possibilities meets Mass Effect's everything else. It's probably gonna be like the perfect space game to play in and venture in and do what you want in. I like the creativity and the personalization that they're bringing to that game. That being said, I also like you can switch between first person and third person. I'm a big third person guy. I don't mind the first person from time to time, and maybe I'll switch between that. Like whenever I'm, fighting enemies, I'll probably switch to first person. When I'm walking around and checking things out, I'll probably go third person. You can also create and have fun with your ship and bring crew members on of your choice and all this, that, and the third. And that also can be flown in first person and third person. Kind of gives me a little Star Wars Squadrons-esque vibes with the first person action of that game, or that ability or feature within the Starfield game that's, of course, we know not coming till 2023. They showed us Grounded, those who may be interested, Redfall, and all these crazy, stupid looking demonic games. None of those are really my interest. Like Redfall almost kind of was interesting, and then I also saw the graphics of it, and it was definitely something I was not expecting. The gameplay aspect looked a lot better as it started going on. So from a gameplay perspective, it looks nice, but graphically, I wasn't really expecting that from Redfall. And of course, the unnecessary, at least in my personal opinion, vampire-esque moments in this, because you are basically taking out vampires. I'm good with that. This is why I'm on PlayStation, because a bunch of Xbox games look exactly the same. Like literally, Redfall looks the same as Starfield, that looks the same as Fallout, which also looks the same as Diablo, which also looks the same as Hellblade. And I'm like, and even arguably Forza Motorsport that they showed us, which although looks nice, it looks photorealistic, it also looks kind of playful, because that's really Xbox's signature graphical take on games, right? Is just like extra playful, not as realistic as what you would get on PlayStation side of things. And I'm not saying that's not a good or a bad thing. I'm just saying Xbox is very samey with their content, whereas PlayStation is much less samey. And even if it was samey, it's in the vein of realism as opposed to the same cartoonish look of their game. So yeah, interesting showcase. I will say that it was better than Summer Game Fest, but it was only better because of the tone and pacing of the show. The showcase itself was put together way better than Jeff Keighley's. The big difference was there was a lot less talking. Jeff Keighley we saw about 50 times in just under 2 hours, and the world premiere that kept dinging on and off at the beginning and at the end of each trailer, also very annoying. Xbox's showcase, very smooth, very clean. We saw maybe 4 or 5 people in the hour and a half span, and it opened straight out with a trailer, and it just kept going. Theirs went world premiere, trailer, and then outro trailer of letting you know it would be accessible in some shape or capacity on Game Pass. Then the next trailer would boot up. Jeff Keighley's was world premiere, trailer, odd ending, world premiere. Jeff Keighley tells us what we just saw, and then he tells us what we're potentially about to see next. Then world premiere, trailer, weird ending, world premiere again. Back to him telling us the game. You see how just unnecessary that is? If Jeff Keighley shaved a lot of that out, his show probably would have been around the same length, if not shorter, than Xbox Game Showcase, and his show may have actually done a lot better. Now, in both cases, the games weren't as interesting in either case for me personally, so just from a preferential perspective, I wasn't really interested in that many games from the showcases. I didn't pay that much attention to Day of the Devs or Tribeca Games or Netflix Geek Week. I really didn't pay attention too much to that. I just kind of saw some trailers here and there, and it was like, oh, that looks interesting. Oh, that also looks interesting. Oh, that looks interesting. But I wasn't all the way 100% in on a lot of what I saw. And it's simple. It's a lot of the games are starting to be kind of samey. Like, you know, we went through the zombie phase, but we're still kind of sort of in the zombie phase. But then now the zombies aren't necessarily zombies, they're vampires or they're dead. And it's like we're kind of losing touch with variety with the games. And that hurts Xbox in my opinion even more, because not only do the games already look similar from one another, the essence of the game isn't that much different from the next game. Take Diablo and Hellblade. Those games seem like they're very similar. I'm not playing either one of them, but I'm just letting you know those seem very similar. We didn't see Avowed. People thought Avowed was going to be showing up. I don't think too many people was expecting to see Fable pop up, and that did not. But for Xbox, you're talking about games that are not coming out till pretty much next year or October 21st of this year, because I think I literally saw like 6 games all coming out in October, and then specifically October 21st. Like, could you not pick another day in October, in November, in September, Xbox? We saw Phil Spencer one time for like a minute and a half talking about, oh, we're gonna bring such and such. Maybe he also was feeling like this show isn't the greatest. I don't know. It was weird. It was interesting. I still would like to get an Xbox Series console, but I'm leaning more towards the S console as opposed to the X, because outside of potential boosted graphical fidelity or 60 frames per second, which you can still get on the Series S, it'll just be capped at 1440p, which is fine. The games look arguably the same and very cartoony, so in terms of that realism perspective that you get with PlayStation, with a Marvel Spider-Man and whatnot, seeing that in 4K or upscale 4K, native 4K is different than seeing kind of more cartoony vibes with Xbox. So the Series S seems fine to run with, and that would easily be put in the bedroom or something, maybe in the living room. But there's no games that's jumping out at me to go get an Xbox Series console, let alone an Xbox Series X. I thought that would have been Starfield, but Starfield really didn't do that much. It seems like a very grandiose game, and when you pay attention to No Man's Sky's venture, it took them years to get to where they're at now already. So unless Bethesda's really been paying attention to their trajectory, they've paid attention to Mass Effect, so that way they can come out and drop a banger like Starfield, and they right out the gate is much more smooth. Do I even have the time to try to explore a vast universe, which I think would be up my alley? But it really depends, I think, on how Marvel's Avengers goes, in my personal opinion, because that's the game I like to play right now. I play my story-driven games and all that. I'm about to jump back into the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves on PS5. You know what I'm saying? But in terms of a big game that takes investment, that's the problem with a lot of the games and period as well. We have a ton of MMOs, a ton of multiplayer games, or games as a service games, and it's hard to really pick one and kind of stick with it, because there's so many that seems interesting, but you can't put that much time into any one of them specifically because you lose out on playing the other one. So I think we're butting heads in the gaming industry, in my opinion, in terms of trends and whatnot. Hideo Kojima, by the way, talking about game trends and how he's excited to use Xbox's cloud technology. Kojima Productions is producing the game with Xbox Studios, so that's also interesting to see. Is it a crossbreed between Death Stranding 2 and another game or something? I don't know. It seems interesting. But again, even with that announcement, cool to see Hideo. Didn't see nothing in terms of the project that he's working on. So Xbox is losing right now from the perspective of big hitting games dropping soon, and then on top of that, like even down the line, it's just like, goodness, what are we doing, Xbox? And this is why Sony's winning. This is why Sony right now is winning, because even if Sony has to delay games or has big games coming out, they're actually legitimate big games, and they rise to the occasion. They do. Xbox, not so much. I mean, look at Halo Infinite. It seemed like it was good, but the way they dropped bits and pieces of the game for people to play and what was available and what was coming later, and then like maybe the multiplayer aspect is in a great place now, but you talking about Halo, the signature mascot of Xbox, and it was, I don't want to say subpar, but didn't really knock anybody heads off. You know what I'm saying? So as Xbox, we'll see what happens over the course of the next 12 months that was promised to us through the showcase in terms of what they showed us, and how about after that, what are we getting? That's where it's gonna get tough. We'll see. I mean, they spent $7 billion on Bethesda, and not too much to really show for right now. The whole Activision Blizzard thing is awaiting, signed, sealed, approved. Overwatch 2 reared its head at Xbox Game Showcase. I never played at Overwatch, but the game does look kind of fun to play, so I'm excited to maybe kind of try that game out. But I mean, overall, the show to me was like a 6 out of 5. And a lot of that score is because of how well it went, despite the lack of games or good games. It gets a 6 out of 5 just because of what we had to endure with Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest. This gets like a 6 out of 10 for me, which is basically a 3 out of 5. I like using a 10-point scale, gives you a little bit more range. So I'm gonna stick with 6 out of 10 for Xbox and Bethesda's game showcase. So let me know down in the comment section below what you guys thought about Xbox and the games they showed. Are you interested in any of them? Do you even have an Xbox Series console? Do you plan on getting one? Were you planning on getting one and then you saw the showcase and changed your mind? Let me know down in the comment section below. But again, as always, if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys ignite the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so that way you know my videos on my live streams. So that we can sit back, chillax, see what's cracking. With your man Mike is signing out. Until the next video, wait for and keep it gaming.